This is the Entertainment Answer.
And welcome back to the Entertainment Answer. I'm Matt Mungle, along with Brian Kluger and Dave Curley over there manning the cams. Well, there's a new film out called White Girl. In fact, it's been rolling out all through the month of September in select theaters. It had its world premiere at the Sundance Film Festival this year. It takes place in the summer of New York City. It's about a college girl who falls hard for a guy she just met, and after a night of partying goes wrong, she goes to wild extremes to get him back. Written and directed by Elizabeth Wood and stars Morgan Saylor, who you might recognize from McFarland USA. She's been a regular in the Homeland TV series. Does a phenomenal job in this one, and we have her on the phone to chat about her role in this new movie, White Girl. Hi, Morgan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We're just all sitting around here recapping the Emmys.
Oh, yeah?
Get a chance to watch?
I didn't watch, but I was kind of doing that, refresh on the live updates of the New York Times bullet points.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about White Girl, and I'm going to put all my cards on the table. You know, we're all in that mindset of end-of-year voting, and it's going to be really easy to write your name down on this ballot for this film. So
Thank you so very much.
Yeah, I just want to let you know that going into it. What attracted you originally to this script? Was it the script or the character, or maybe a combination of both that sort of pulled you in to start with?
Definitely a combination of the role and the script, and Elizabeth, really, the director. But when I first read it, it did feel like a different kind of story than what I read. Like most stories I read with roles for someone my age are like either teenagey, high school kind of comedies, or the role that I'm offered is like a girlfriend role or a daughter role. And this felt like a role about someone my age that was complex and messy and honest in a way that like a lot of films aren't. So that was exciting. And I knew that I'd want to see the film no matter who was in it. And I knew that I hoped whoever did the role was willing to really portray it in like a very raw kind of way. And then when I met Elizabeth, I was excited because she really does have a vision and is different than a lot of directors I've worked with. So it was that combo of all three things that really made me so interested.
So did you and Elizabeth have certain conversations before pre-shooting that going into it saying, okay, this is how it's laid out and this is what we would like to see happen at the end? What kind of conversations did you guys have going into that?
We were fortunate because we had a lot of time beforehand. I've said this many times, but it feels so important and like it was such a phenomenal opportunity that we got to have plenty of time beforehand. But it's the lowest budget of a project I've worked on and the longest rehearsal period. We spent a lot of time, and it started kind of with lunches and meetings and then grew more casual but also more like a proper rehearsal. We'd do the scenes and kind of discuss each line and each motivation. And really the best thing that came out of it was just kind of a common language and a common understanding of the story and of the character, so that when we got to set, and of course they were these kind of crazy, hectic days, we knew what we wanted. And we knew the character and where she was going and what she was doing. And it really was a collaboration. It was us building on top of one another. The story is based on Elizabeth's some of her real experiences, but early on she said that she really wanted to hear what I thought about everything and about what the character would do. So it was just so great to be able to kind of build that bridge together and build this world for the story.
Again, we're talking to Morgan Saylor about her new film, White Girl. And I don't know if maybe you kind of departmentalize things or how you approach each scene, because there's scenes where it's just full on in some of the party aspects where there's just drugs and there's, wall-to-wall people and it's noisy. And then you have the really quiet scenes with like you and Brian's character Blue and your roommate. You guys are the really subtle ones. Kind of just talk through which one you kind of felt more in line with the character possibly.
I study mathematics. So one thing it's important to me as I'm working on stories and working on characters is that arc and is the timeline. in the highs and the lows. And I don't just mean like in terms of this character in reference to drugs, but the extremes, and then kind of being able to chart or grasp those in between. All of the other actors were really lovely, especially Brian. We got to rehearse and spend a lot of time together beforehand. And those scenes were so pleasant to do in contrast to the big party scenes. I think some of the hardest scenes were ones where like my character is alone and doing drugs in a room or kind of alone in a crowd, because again, it's not quite compartmentalization or pretending, but I guess just the real word is acting. But it's like manipulating your brain to feel like you're going through this and really be in that moment. So especially when I didn't have one of my scene partners like Brian, who plays Blue, or India, who plays my roommate, or even Justin Bartha, who plays my boss, it was harder when my character was more alone, I'd say, for myself.
Right. And you talk about mathematics. Do you approach things analytically from beginning to end? And a lot of people handle these things differently as far as the sex and the nudity and some of the more graphic scenes. And they go into it and it's analytical. And sometimes it's just organic. Did you know going into each scene, this is how it's going to go step by step? Or did you allow organically some of those scenes to just kind of transpire as they would?
My kind of motto in acting is, prep, and then drop it. So I do really kind of come from it from an analytical standpoint in the beginning. I think about it exactly like kind of as the arcs, and timelines and slopes of things, really, and that sort of way of thinking. I even will draw like different curves, and I do a lot of work in a notebook and journaling and things like that. But then I do drop it on set. I leave that book behind, and that all that work is kind of just there. And I'm able to breathe in a more organic way once I get there. In Elizabeth, in many scenes, the kind of sexy ones or not, she really likes long takes. And she would just kind of let it go past a point where perhaps another director would stop, which was really interesting, because I think it brought up things that were real. It wasn't always in those kinds of scenes or others. It's not always like the perfect thing that's on the script, and what comes after you let something really live can be really interesting. And I think she frequently used some of that stuff that were these really long takes towards the end of it, was what she ended up putting in the film.
Again, with us on the line is Morgan Saylor talking about her film White Girl, opening in select theaters throughout the month of September. And you hit on the word real, and I think that's what came across in most of the scenes. It felt really real, and I think that's what gravitated, I know me, to your character and the other characters in here. Is you walk away you're drained for them. It's like, yeah. I lived this life with them for 90 to 100 minutes, and it was powerful. So what do you hope people take from this when viewing it? I mean, because there are some elements in it as far as heartbreak and decision making and just the things that you do and consequences. What do you hope people take from it?
Well, I think there are a lot of big issues that are presented in it to do with gender and race and gentrification, and sexuality as well. But what I hope people take is perhaps what I relate to most is that feeling when you are young and you do move away from home and you're kind of starting to become your own person, and be aware of your place in society and what that means. And in Leah's case, kind of that privilege of being a young white girl, but also what happens with, what are the consequences, like you said, of your actions. I think that's one thing she realizes by the end that she wasn't thinking about in the beginning. Those are kind of what I feel most when I read the story, and when I did watch it, that felt like something you could definitely take away.
Right. Well, it was, again, an award-worthy performance. And so thanks for spending some time today with us and talking about it, and good luck with it and all the other stuff you got going on in the future.
Of course. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Again, you can check out the film White Girl. It's opening in select theaters all through the month of September. Definitely recommend you checking that out. So let's take another small break and come back with more right here on The Entertainment Answer.
You're listening to The Entertainment Answer.